welcome to The Banished Zone. I'm Bryn.
I'm Chris.
And this is an intro to the Flesh and Blood podcast that we're about to start, and you're about to watch. It's episode 1 of
the very first one.
The very first one.
Getting in on the ground floor. It's going to the moon, probably.
The thing about this intro is that we have already recorded the episode, and we made a fatal newbie mistake, which is not pressing start record on the little button.
Plugged in the camera, plugged in the microphones, opened up the thing to record the video. We're in the frame. Our friend over here is in the frame.
He's right there.
But he didn't remind us. He's the producer, and he didn't tell us to push the
button. It's actually his fault.
It's kind of on him.
It's really on him.
I don't know if you have anything to say for yourself? No? Okay.
So we are introing this for the YouTube podcast. This won't be in the audio podcast. And just saying there is a video element to this. Halfway through, we start to talk about Dynasty Spoilers, and you will see all the cards on screen. We did all the work, but we forgot to. You won't see our beautiful faces.
Yeah. So just picture this. Maybe we should. No, we should do. We should just be like pretend to talk for a while, and then you can loop this part over the podcast, and then people can kind of, if they have their glasses off, maybe it'll seem like it syncs up. You know, maybe sometimes by coincidence it'll
just be
match
like,
up. Yeah.
Like Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah. Make a loop.
So yeah, this is not the podcast. The podcast will start in just a second, and we are going to talk about our whole history of in card games and how we got into Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
And then about at the 30-minute mark, I think it's like 34 minutes.
Yeah, something like that.
We'll get into Dynasty Spoilers, and then there'll be more video. So here you go.
Enjoy.
We don't have an intro. We don't have a reason for being here. The thing is that here, let me tell you this.
Yeah. We really want a spoiler card, and we think if we put out a podcast for long enough, James White will be forced to acknowledge us.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
He should come on the show.
Yeah,
James White, come on the show.
It's been long enough. You've been dodging us. We've been asking you questions outside your house you won't answer. We want to know the answers to the questions, James.
So we've been doing podcasts together for about 5 years, I think.
37 years. Yeah, I guess like 5 years, give or take.
We've been doing it for a long time. It's sort of just like the way we kind of hang out and do stuff we're interested in. Flesh and Blood was something that we got into together, and it is sort of taken over our lives in the sense that it's like mostly what we talk about. So we thought, hey, why not? We already have the channel. Why not just have a podcast too?
We're already boring each other by rambling on about Oldham's matchups or Fi's win rate into Icelander or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not subject you poor people to the same experience?
Right. So that's what we are kind of here to do, is subject you to our thoughts about a card game that we really love. And just by way of starting the show and introducing the show, like I said, we don't have like a niche, really. I guess we're 30-something hipsters who maybe are a little different kinds of people than you're normally going to see in the Flesh and Blood world.
Yeah, I don't know who you're going to see.
But maybe we're all the same. Who gives a shit? We're just a couple of white people.
Yeah.
But I thought we'd run down how we got into the game and what our history with card games is in general. So in terms of the game, I've never been interested or involved in a trading card game in my life.
Unless you count Hearthstone. You played Hearthstone, which is like vaguely.
Yes, but to me that was like a game I bought or you didn't have to buy.
Right.
I tried for a month.
It's like a phone game you played for a little while.
No one would be like, I got, like, you know what I mean? Like, I got into tile games because I played threes for 6 years or whatever.
Yeah, or I guess it's like you didn't really get into JRPGs if you played like Pokemon Go or something.
I mean, like, I played Final Fantasy 7 and 8 when I was a kid, but I wasn't like into JRPGs. So I was never into a card game. Except for poker.
I was going to say poker, but poker isn't a TCG, but it does incorporate like...
You don't even have to have a deck.
Yeah, you just...
you show up.
It's limited, you might say. The most limited type of card game possible.
But that is a good point. I was a board game nerd to a certain extent. Like I wasn't like as insane as a lot of people who have like stacks and stacks and shelves of board games. But I had a couple. I have Betrayal in House on Haunted Hill. I have Ascension, which is a deck building game. I have what is that game? Boss Boss Monster. It's like a NES themed game.
Oh yeah, that one
It's
looks
like a
cool.
dungeon crawler. Like I
Sushi Go, your favorite draft
Sushi
game?
Sushi Go is just a game about drafting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So I have played games my whole life. I've played video games. I played board games. I like games. So it wasn't too much of a stretch for me. And you got into Magic early and Pokemon early, yeah?
Yeah, well, I barely really played Pokemon because when I was in fourth grade, I think, is when Pokemon, when I was like 8 or 9 or something, is when the Pokemon craze kind of hit North America. So I knew a lot of people who had Pokemon cards. I had some cards, but when I was 11, a friend got me some Magic decks for my birthday. And so I got into Magic then. That was when Prophecy.
So wait, did you play Pokemon ever?
I played it a couple times. I never really I had some cards.
Played it a couple times.
Yeah, I played with some friends who had decks, but I never really built my own. I got into Magic soon after Pokemon came out, and Magic just seemed cooler and more interesting.
Okay.
So yeah, at the time, Prophecy was the current set, and I played it from 11 till 16, 17. In high school, I just kind of got interested in other stuff. My friends who played Magic didn't play it as much anymore. I just kind of fell off of it for a while around the original Kamigawa.
And so that was because you didn't want to be such a huge nerd.
Yeah, I didn't want to be.
You wanted to get women.
I would not word it that way. You can feel free to put it that way. Yeah, I just kind of lost interest in it. I wasn't. I never really played Magic super competitively. I went to Friday Night Magic stuff, and I went to drafts and events sometimes. When I was in middle school, one of the teachers was really into Magic. It's funny to look back on because he seemed old when I was a kid, but he probably was 28
yeah.
or something. Just your standard TCG nerd.
Sure.
So he did after school once a week where you could stay and play Magic. So I did that, and then he would host a draft once a month or so.
Nice.
So it was just a bunch of other kids. So it's I did pretty well at drafts sometimes with other middle schoolers. I never really got nearly as competitive as we've gotten in Flesh and Blood in Magic, but I played that a lot.
But did you make decks?
Yeah, I built decks, and they weren't exactly meta. I didn't. There were times when I would look up what the meta was or sort of vaguely know, but it was a little harder because I still had dial-up internet at the time, and there just wasn't nearly as
Sure.
much content the way there is now, where you could just go on Discord, go on YouTube, hear about it. So I vaguely understood the concept of the Magic metagame, and also even at the time people played with older expensive cards. I knew Black Lotus and stuff like that were really expensive and coveted and stuff.
Sure.
But yeah, I built decks. I played with friends. I played at stores sometimes and got my ass kicked. It was a very fun game.
Did you win? Did you ever win? What's an armory in Magic? Is there an armory?
Friday Night Magic was kind of equivalent. I got second place at drafts at stores sometimes.
That's pretty good.
I did pretty well at times. There were times when I was pretty good at Magic. At a draft. Yeah.
So then you didn't play from high school on.
Yeah, I kind of just fell off of. I would play with my little brother when I was back home sometimes. We just had the cards around, so I would play, and I vaguely followed it over the years. A few years ago, a mutual friend of ours was kind of looking for more people to play Magic with, and
yeah, he was into doing altars and stuff.
He played Commander, I think, and he.
Right, there was a moment when I remember Commander happening.
Yeah,
and
yeah. We knew enough people who played.
I started to hear rumblings again about Magic in the late, in the mid 2010s.
Yeah, something 2018 or 19 or something.
Yeah, no,
maybe
before
earlier?
that, 14, 15.
Yeah.
And I remember I had Joanna's friends.
Oh,
were
yeah.
do you want to play Magic with us? And I was I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
and it seemed really complicated, and I was really put off by how much the cards cost.
Sure.
And how much the decks cost. I was also much poorer back then. I grew up very poor. I did collect basketball cards when I was young, but my dad would let me buy a pack once a week.
Sure.
I'd buy one pack.
Yeah.
And I'd have I'd get a Shaq rookie card or whatever, and it was wow, crazy. But I wasn't buying boxes of booster boxes.
Yeah, when I was playing Magic, I was
there's no boosters.
I was barely.
That's not how it works.
I think I did buy singles sometimes. It was a sort of. I think it was when I first found out what PayPal was. I remember asking my dad, "Hey, can I get from this website? Do you have to use PayPal?" And he was like, "Well, I don't know if I trust it." And then later, someone he worked with was like, "Oh, PayPal's normal," and he was like, "Oh, okay, we can use PayPal then." But I never really bought super expensive cards or anything. I think that's part of the reason I didn't get deep into the meta is because like it was always changing, and it meant you had to like buy the expensive cards from the new set, and like I wasn't drawn that much into the competitive scene.
And PayPal, the first time I ever used PayPal was to buy to use eBay for the first time, which was to buy the very first Far Side collection.
Oh wow! Someone had that for sale.
Someone had that for
That's
sale
cool.
for, I believe, 50 cents.
Oh, they didn't want it because it was just like a garage sale type thing.
The very first one where he's like taking a picture of a bison or whatever.
Yeah. I love the Far Side.
And I was like, Mom, I have 50 cents. And I was like, just let me get PayPal.
Let me put it in the computer.
Yeah, I had to figure out what PayPal was. I think I was like 8 years old. I'm old, folks. No, I'm not. I'm normal age. Anyway, so you weren't into card games. I wasn't into card games.
Yeah, I was like vaguely. I mean, my friend was like, "You want to try to learn how to play current Magic and Commander?" And like,
oh yeah, and you were sort of like, "Sure."
I mean, but even like knowing,
but you didn't.
Well, the thing was that like even knowing, having years of experience in Magic, it's like they had kept putting out sets every year since I hadn't been playing.
Right.
So there was decades worth practically of stuff of like keywords, and so a lot of the cards I was like, I don't really understand what this means. I barely got what like the commander was. It's pretty simple, I think, but like I was like, how does a commander work? Like, where do you play it from? What do the numbers going up and down mean? So it felt like they'd been adding so much stuff to Magic that like getting into it was as hard as getting into a newer game.
Sure.
I don't know. Honestly, Flesh and Blood I think was easier to get into than current Magic would have been for me, just because there's so much new stuff to pick up on.
All right, but then you got into Slay the Spire.
Yeah,
that was sort of your into like, I'm into card games again.
Yeah, I mean, I was already playing it before pandemic, but I think I put in like many of the hundreds of hours I've played it.
Yeah, you almost said 100, and I was like, no.
Many
it's
of the
thousands.
hundreds. Yeah, I don't know if it's 1,000.
It is.
Yeah, but it's pretty close.
No,
yeah.
it is for sure. I mean, I know that because I know how much 1,000 hours is in terms of like games I've played on the computer.
Sure.
Like Borderlands 2.
Yeah.
And you've played more.
You're probably close on Dark Souls, right? I bet you have like 600 hours on Dark Souls 1
probably
on the Switch. Yeah. I have a lot on that one too. But yeah.
But that's a sort of easy one to just like watch a movie, watch a TV show at the end of the night and log 6 hours.
Yeah. But yeah, a couple of years ago, I got really into Slay the Spire and sorry, what were you gonna say about Dark Souls?
Oh no, that's important for me. Is that like Dark Souls? I'm not into fantasy. This is not doing nothing for me. I didn't grow up into like Lord of the Rings or fantasy. Like I was a sci-fi nerd. I've always been
Too bad you didn't find Netrunner.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah. But like,
would have been sad too to have to like watch a game.
I'm not like me growing up. I was an art nerd. Like I was an artsy weirdo kid who I liked reading, and I like reading nonfiction. I like reading philosophy and science.
The philosophy trading card game. No, you're playing a Descartes, huh? Well, I counter with Hegel.
Well, let me tell you, I got a Guitari coming for you. You've activated my Guitari card,
and now I fuse it with Deleuze.
What are you gonna do?
To special summon 1,000 plateaus.
So I wasn't really interested in systems that didn't feel like about the expansive, like existential, real that I thought about. I liked video games, but it was sort of just a little hobby, It seemed like a lot to get into a card game. But then I feel like Dark Souls kind of changed my brain around about like how stories can be told and how experiences in games can resonate with you.
Yeah. Like what can be immersive about a game, or what like draws you into like role playing in a way.
Sure. Well, that's another thing, is I've always been pretty against role playing. Not morally or conceptually, but like not something I'm really interested in. I grew up acting. So if I can't like fully act and like become a character, I didn't really get what it meant to be like. And then my guy is a strong guy. Like I really didn't understand how to grapple with that or engage with it in any sort of like fun way. So I was probably really annoying to play D&D with, honestly. But
you're the person who was like, but what was my guy doing before he went on this adventure?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Seriously. Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. It makes you think of on Curb Your Enthusiasm. Richard Lewis said he sometimes would ask Larry like not even like anything super deep, like what's my character's like motivation or anything, but he asked Larry like, what was I doing before the scene? And Larry's like, who cares? What are you talking
What
about?
does it have anything to do with it? Yeah. So yeah, this has been an area of nerd culture because I like comics, I like weird movies. But I've just like, this is an area of nerd culture that I've like literally been unable to grapple with.
The whole fantasy realm, like
until Dark Souls, which I started playing in 2021, or 2020, I don't remember.
Late 2020, I feel like, yeah.
Anyway, the point is that I got really deep into that game, and I think it, like a lot of people, kind of rewrote their assumptions about what games are. It changed everyone's understanding of how mechanics should work and how they should make you feel. It's a revolutionary thing. And so I was bored in the pandemic, as most of us were, and I was watching a TikTok called Kraken Hits, which was a guy opening Pokemon cards. Again, I don't play Pokemon. I've never played Pokemon.
They look cool though. They keep making them look cooler.
It was just the sort of gambling, like gotcha sort of like, what's he gonna get?
Right, because sometimes he was like, "Oh my god, it's crazy," and like I feel like when I was watching that with you, I was sort of because when I played Magic, the cards were common, uncommon, and rare, and you could get shinies, and it's like some rares were worth more money because they were more meta, like they were better. And so they could be worth like $40-$50 or something, or even more if they're old.
Right, like the Jumpstart deck I got.
Yeah, but there were not Majestics, or I think they called them Mythics in Magic.
They call them Mythic Rares.
And there weren't Legendaries and stuff. And it seems like Pokemon and other TCGs have like added those.
Pokemon has a ton of shit. They're like VMAX, borderless, shiny, you know.
Alt
this
arts.
is trainer card, special, whatever. Like, they have tons of fun hits. And so basically I was watching it and I wasn't learning, I wasn't learning what the cards that they were expecting. It was just fun to watch them get excited. And they'd have they'd show pictures of the kids who were like watching with their dads being like, ooh, are we gonna get something good? Oh, of course, it's the big Pikachu or whatever.
That was interesting because you like showed me that channel and watched it for a little bit, and at some point you were like, he's not opening his own cards, and I was like, oh, what do you mean? And you were like, he's opening cards for people, and then they get mailed them, and I hadn't heard of that concept before.
So that's my introductory.
They're like unboxing someone's cards for them so they can be part of a channel or something.
Yeah, and I thought, I wish there was a card game that was cool that I could like to watch videos like this. And so I went on tcgplayer.com. Well, I literally just Googled best. I had to find out what they were called.
Right, yeah.
Then best TCG.
You said you asked me something about Magic, right? You were like, should I get into Magic, or like, is Magic fun?
Oh, yeah. I was like, well, what, should I get into Magic? And you were like, I don't know. You were real kind of down on it. You like, not just how you are. You're sort of just like very calculating, like, well, here's the pros and here's the cons. And I was like, cons sound pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't exactly remember like why I think not that I've really been like following it super closely or anything, but I just got the vibe that like Magic had been phoning it in for a while. Maybe not phoning it in. Like, I don't want to throw any shade on the developers or artists or designers. Like, I'm sure a ton of smart people work really hard on it, but it just sort of felt like
no shade to anybody who plays Magic either.
Every single year they keep having to come up with new mechanics. It's like, at what point do they have a really great idea for a new mechanic versus are they like, well, time to make the sausage? Like, what do we want for this year? What's something that will be cool? And I don't know. It just like, and Magic also sort of it sort of seems like this rickety like Jenga tower in a way, where it's 30 years of mechanics, some of which were, it's literally the first TCG. So there's all this stuff that they just made up and kind of like have to stick with, or
it's like it's like Kowloon Walled City of game design.
Yeah,
where it's just like trying to take stuff and like make it not kill people. So it just didn't feel like so anyway, I Googled best TCG. I found tcgplayer.com, and they had a list of their best selling ones. And it was like, I think it was Pokemon, Magic, maybe Digimon at the time.
I would have guessed Yu-Gi-Oh would be like third best selling.
I think Yu-Gi-Oh was there.
Probably up there.
In the top 5, there was Flesh and Blood. And I didn't know what that was. and I looked at the art and I was like, okay, this is cool because it looked adult. It looked not for kids. And it looked professional and nice.
Yeah.
I especially liked Chain and Viscerai.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm spooky like that. And
you didn't even know they were super broken and OP.
yeah, they would be. And the Rune Blades would be my first hero.
Yeah.
And then I watched the Professor's. I don't know if we actually watched the Professor's video because I was watching it last week just to see, and I was like, I don't really remember this.
I think we did because I remember watching I think we watched the one on the website first, like the one that's like showing you how the rules work with the Arya deck. And I think we watched the Professor and we watched some Louis Kitchen Table TCG when he still made videos about Flesh and Blood before he quit. He was one of the first ones we watched. I think
Kitchen Table, yeah.
I think you were going on. What I actually remember you doing is you found it and you showed me some art and stuff, and you were like, "Look, there's armor that you equip, so it's like Dark Souls," and that was like one of the mechanical things that seemed really cool. Where
the
it's
idea that you could open a pack and then get a new weapon that you didn't have before, and then play the same hero with a new weapon was like, oh, it's like Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And then, the fact that there's like reaction steps, there's dodging, there's blocking.
Yeah, just the way you're equipping and
a
having
certain sense.
a
There's
build and
kind
stuff.
of parrying. Yeah. Like not really, but like there kind of is. The mechanics felt like people describe it as a fighting game,
Yeah.
And so to me, the best fighting game is Dark Souls PvP.
Yeah. The most like flavorful and intense.
And people love it. I mean, Elden Ring too.
And so what I remember you doing is you like got hooked kind of by that, and then you were like, all right, I'm gonna do some. You were like doing some research on Reddit to find like a bunch of stuff. You kind of were like, well, if I'm gonna get into it, I want to make sure I get the right like sleeves and boxes and like accoutrement and stuff. And and I think you were also looking up like somebody on Reddit was like,
well, the first thing we did was we went to Action City in Greenpoint and we bought Blitz decks.
Yeah, because I think someone on Reddit was like, Kitchen Table TCG has a good intro video. He describes all the Blitz decks. I also remember you looking at Reddit and you were like, everyone's talking about the Professor. They're like, the Professor said this is a good box or something. And then you were like, we looked it up and we're like, I guess it's Tolarian Community College.
Just so you know, this is January 2022.
Yeah, it was this year.
This is this year.
Yeah,
or December 2021.
Yeah, I don't quite remember. It was sometime around the winter.
It was it was like a couple of months before Everfest came out.
Yeah, we got into it before Everfest.
When I remember like right when I was looking into it, Briar was errated.
Yeah, one of the early videos I remember watching is like DM Armada and Red Zone Rogue both did videos about the fact that they had to errata Briar. And I was like, oh yeah, I remember this kind of stuff in Magic. Like stuff is too strong. They got to nerf it, whatever. They're lucky. I mean, it's good they haven't had to do that since then. Like change what a hero says.
Yeah, that's a pretty tough one.
Yeah.
And they've apologized because James White said it was because they weren't able to like test Arya in person that much.
Yeah, and they were mostly testing for draft and not really testing for constructed as much. It was like the fact that they were working during COVID and having to like test remotely and just like it impacts a lot of different stuff, I'm sure.
Totally. But yeah, so that's how we got into it. I mean, after that, we kind of dove in head first.
Yeah, like you said, we went to Action City and Eric gave us, I think, at least one Ira deck, and we bought some decks. We never actually played with the Ira deck. I think we bought a Chain, a Prism, an Oldham, a Briar, and a Bolton. Did we get 5 decks?
No, I think I bought all the Arya ones after.
Okay. I don't actually... No, we do have Chain. We have the Chain promo card.
Yeah, we do. It was Chain, Briar, Prism, and I think Oldham. Okay.
Because I remember the early... we played... Because I remember we watched Kitchen Table and he was like... He sort of rated the decks and described like what you do in each one in a very beginner-friendly way. And for Prism, he was like, I wouldn't recommend this for new players. It's kind of complicated. And you were like, I don't care. I want to play Prism. And you tried it, and we were both like, what is this deck supposed to do? Because it just kept feeling...
it doesn't come with Luminaris.
Right.
So it's bullshit.
You would just be kind of like, I'll make a Spectral Shield, and then I'll attack with this thing. And it didn't help that I was playing Oldham against you, so I was like, oh, I block with that, and it stops the Phantasm.
Yeah.
And then it would always be like, you'd have one Spectral Shield, which would break when I attacked you.
Yeah.
And I remember afterwards being like, I feel like you're supposed to make more of these somehow, but I don't see how. Like,
it's not a rune chant thing.
It didn't quite make sense.
Have the cards.
Yeah, but then Briar, I feel like both of us were like, this hero seems...
This is pretty good.
Even in Blitz deck form, you're kind of like, this seems powerful. Yeah. Perhaps too powerful.
That was
I don't know.
when I played Briar that I was like, I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm fully into
Briar
this
is
game.
cool.
This shit is awesome. And then Briar was the first hero I liked, and then I built Bravo, and then I built.
Oh yeah, your first interest was Bravo.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be fun to play a big Hulkin guy, and then I
Yeah, so we started going to like our local armory at Action City, and back then it was like a little smaller of a scene than it is now in New York. I mean, it was definitely like pretty thriving, but I feel like when we were going back then, it was like between 8 to 10 people. There was like a core of regulars were showing up every week, and we just started playing with our Blitz decks. At some point, I got the Bolton Blitz deck, right? Because I remember playing Bolton at early armories.
Brave.
Poor Bolton.
Yeah, and then you got hooked on Lexi.
Yeah. Like Lexi was the first deck that I got the urge to build, because I was just kind of like researching and trying to pick which hero like spoke to me. I sort of do that with games sometimes, where it's like takes me a while to decide which thing I want to play, or I like overthink it.
A long time.
Yeah.
Like I was to the point that I was afraid you weren't interested in the game because you took so long. I was like, "What are you gonna play with me?"
Yeah.
And you were like, well, "I don't know what to play."
I don't know what to play. Yeah, but I think I ended up reading Yuki's article about her like Death Dealer Nationals deck from 2021. And I was like, ooh, that sounds really weird. And it sort of was like combo-y, the way you're like using Death Dealer to gain action points and draw cards. I don't know how well I like understood that interaction, because I barely understood the rules of the game, it feels like at that point. But enough that I was like, ooh, Lexi seems like an interesting, weird, fun hero. I think we'd opened a Voltaire also, so we like already had that. And we had some Arya, because you opened like a box of Arya at some point.
Right.
So,
and pretty immediately I started this channel because I wanted to open boxes. Because they're really... I mean, I feel like there's a lot more now, especially DM Armada has really started doing a lot of fun box battles and stuff, and that's great. But when I first started, I was like, there's really not much opening content.
Yeah, there was
like
there's Rudy Alpha Investments open boxes,
but like once a month maybe he was opening like boxes for people. Like he was not doing. Fluke is doing a crazy job now.
Fluke is a fiend for boxes. Yeah.
But it's funny because I liked that Kraken Hits would like say every card. Like there was no banter. He was just like, all right, everybody, it's Diglett. It's, just he would say all the commons and stuff. And then he was just like, and this, and it's for kids, So I get a little more now, and I don't mind, but like, it still does kind of bum me out. And I do it too, even on my own streams where I'm opening boxes. I like skip the commons, I'll skip the rares, because nobody cares, and it would take so long.
I feel like people care when the set is new. Like when you first open Dynasty, you're gonna want to look at the commons. You might not even know every common in the set yet when you're opening it, probably.
For sure.
So that's cool.
But that's I like that DM Armada has been doing a lot more box battles. I'd love to watch those.
Oh, the box battles are very fun. I like those. Yeah.
But for me, I like the way Professor does it too, where he just like plays music and then just like, but he doesn't really do that for Flesh and Blood that much. So I wanted this channel to be that. I ran into a lot of logistical problems, which was I don't have any money. Like I don't have the money to buy weekly a $100 box of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, I don't know if Fluke does it. He must be a bank robber in his spare time.
Well, he also buys for people sometimes. But
yeah,
he's got some sort of other income that is cool, and that's great. I hoped that people would want to buy boxes from me. I will, but I don't know how to set up that infrastructure very well. So hopefully just by getting to know me, having a little bit of a community around the show, maybe people want to like open boxes with us. But
yeah, I was gonna say, based on how the internet works and like getting people's attention, I feel like just having a podcast and then doing it every week and then also opening boxes.
Yeah, we're telling you how the sausage is made.
Yeah. This is how you become parasocially addicted and you need to buy a box.
You desire me to open your cards for some reason. I just like opening. For me, it's like, it's totally fine that the channel is everyone. Whenever I have a box, I can open it, and that's fine.
Do a little stream.
So I'll just like keep those in between the podcast episodes.
Yeah.
This show, by the way, will be once a week. Like a normal podcast.
Really? Wow. Can we find enough Flesh and Blood to talk about once a week?
Yeah.
Who knows?
We are staying at a. I don't know if I want to blow up this place's spot or anything, but we're staying at a pretty pretty unique bed and breakfast, as
medieval
you can tell.
themed B&B. Yeah, so
it is a castle themed upstate New York Airbnb.
this will be a one-time only location.
Yeah, this isn't actually. Oh yeah, if you're listening to the audio only version of this, available anywhere there are podcasts.
Absolutely anywhere. Look for a USB under a trash can in Penn Station. It'll be there probably.
Yeah. Just log in at an ATM, download the file.
Yeah, email us your
hack the
social security
Gibson.
number and your PIN code for your and 3-digit CVV code for your credit card,
Yep. And you'll get it.
We'll mail it to you on a CD.
Yeah, this is not going to be the background, but we thought since we're here, it'd be a fun first episode.
It's got good vibes. Yeah,
It's
feels
got
like we're in-
very demonastery vibes.
I was gonna
think.
say it's like we're in a B&B in Solana, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's true.
Yeah, this
So-
is.
Do you think it's Solanese?
I don't know.
Solanian? It's
Oh,
probably
yeah.
Solanian.
Solanian, yeah, probably.
Although
Although who knows what those New Zealand people.
Solanian.
Solanian. Yeah.
Yeah. So today we're also wanting to talk about Dynasty.
Oh, of course.
Dynasty is the new set that is about to come out.
It's imminent.
It's imminent.
Yeah. I'm excited for Dynasty because we were around for Everfest releasing, and so we were like following the spoiler season a little bit. Like I didn't even know you could go online and like see every spoiler like on Discord or whatever. We were just watching DM Armada talk about them.
Yeah, we didn't know about the Discords for a while.
Yeah. So we were like, oh, cool, a new card. New card for this class, new card for that class. I remember people made videos that were like, who gained the most from Everfest, but I didn't really know shit about the meta at the time, and now I feel like we do. So I'm more excited to see a card and like have an understanding of what it's gonna mean.
Right, because Uprising was a very fun spoiler season, and it was very flavorful and lore filled because it was sort of like, okay, what is Icelander doing there? What is that going to mean? Is there going to be a fourth hero?
Right. What does it mean for limited? That
How
there's
is
one
the
ice hero
draftable
and
set
two
gonna work?
draconic.
Right.
Yeah. Turns out a little awkwardly. Not their best draftable set, but pretty solid. Very fun, I think.
I think they're pretty proud of it, though.
Yeah.
Like, I think that
I mean,
James White likes it a lot.
They're having people play it at Worlds and Nationals and stuff. Not to everyone. Some people are annoyed they have to play draft instead of just CC.
If you were going, do you think you would?
Be annoyed? I would be stressed because draft is hard, but I'd be fun.
Yeah, but you've won a draft armory.
I have won a draft armory. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've done okay at draft. It's tough. It's there's a lot that can feel out of your control depending on like where you're sitting.
Right. To me, I don't like draft because it feels so high rolly. Like it feels there's like so much RNG.
It can be a factor, yeah. Or just sometimes like where you're sitting in terms of like what people around you choose to do. Like because people can just sort of make suboptimal decisions or, decisions motivated by like what heroes they like or what heroes they're interested in or just like what their first pack had in it. So you might just end up being like, well, my pack says I should be Dromai, and then someone next to you also thinks he should be Dromai, and then you're both just like getting stuck with bad Dromai cards.
Yeah, and then you might be like sitting next to somebody who like doesn't know how to read what they're being told, and so you're being like, I am Icelander, don't pick Icelander, and they're like, Icelander's cool. I don't know. I'm trying to force Icelander for some reason.
I just saw someone. I think it was the Lazy Dog, that the famous like Discord shit poster, and he was on the casting team for something. I think he was like Australian Nats. Yeah.
Okay.
He just had the idea that it should be kind of similar to Slay the Spire, where there's sort of like a base like token deck for every hero. Like there's 5 token cards or 8 or something that are like bad, like below, because in Slay the Spire you start with just like attack and block cards and like 1 special card for your class, but they're like what in that game you consider them like far below rate. So in Flesh and Blood maybe like a red 0 for 2 or something. So you could start with cards like whatever hero you're going to play, you could have like some Phi tokens, Icelander tokens, or Dromai tokens that are bad but are playable, and so you could have more of a chance to pivot because you'd have like 5-ish playable cards already available for your deck, and then it'd be easier to like go into that hero like pick 6 or 7 or something.
It's a fun idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool.
So yeah, now that we have video,
strange thing about recording a video, you have to hit the button.
You have to hit
do it.
the button.
So now you can see. We've been talking about this suit of armor. You haven't even seen it behind us. Here it is.
Yeah.
You were just picturing a Solanian room, I guess, and couldn't see it.
Right. But no, what I was saying was that the Dynasty was interesting, or excuse me, Uprising was interesting as a spoiler season because it felt like there was all this lore and you could sort of try to glean what was going to happen mechanically and like what cards were going to come through the lore. This is kind of much stranger, trying to figure out what's going to happen because there's it's for everybody. Like
right.
It's a supplemental set.
But it does also seem like it's centered on Volcor and the royal dynasty specifically in an interesting way. Because that was the thing that James White talked about, that like this set will feature, it'll like incorporate the story more than a lot of other sets have.
Yeah, and everyone's getting a spoiler card now. We are deep in spoiler season. It's funny because they said that spoiler season wasn't going to start till October 31st.
Yeah, and we
Halloween.
cried. It was terrible news.
Everyone was very sad about it.
Because it's like a week before the set comes out, or what, a few weeks or something?
I think it's that week, right? Or no, it's
because it comes out
it's
after
10 days.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's on the 11th, which is right after Worlds.
So, but we're deep in spoiler season now. And I thought we'd talk about for this first episode, we talk about the spoilers that we have already gotten. So we'll pull them up here, take the logo away. And not that.
Don't do that. Why would that happen? I didn't like being in the void.
Here we go.
Card.
So this is the first spoiler we got. The Emperor.
Emperor, Crotch of the Night.
Crotch of the Night.
Well, look where he put the card.
oh, I see.
I'm sorry.
This is an audio medium.
That's
Chris.
true.
Not everyone can see that.
Well, it's on the bottom half of the suit of armor is where the Emperor is. You know, the crotchal region.
The crotchula?
Yeah.
Okay. So people, I feel like as I was collecting these pictures, I forgot that spoiler season started basically at Pro-Lil.
Yeah, that was when you got the Emperor. And
it's
other
been
cards
a slow
too,
crawl.
right?
Huh?
Were there other cards at Lil or just the Emperor?
I think just the Emperor.
Yeah.
Did the Imperial War Horn come out?
That was
right after, right?
Yeah, who did leak that? It was just on the website, I think. There was like an article about the Emperor, like his hero lore story article.
Yes,
and
it was
featured
right
a
after.
few cards.
So we got the Emperor, right? And everybody was sort of, we've all had this conversation. It feels like a long time now. But there's an argument. Here's my least favorite thing about Flesh and Blood spoiler season as someone who doesn't know anything about trading card games is that everybody, a card drops immediately and then everyone's like, this sucks.
Right. It's broken.
Right. It's like 100 voices yell that it's so good that it's breaking the game or it's so bad that no one cares. I guess. I don't know what they're trying to say. Both of those things are almost always wrong. Like, yeah. Like basically
Other
every
than,
card
like,
that
Duskblade. When people saw Duskblade and were like, what are you guys doing with this card? Did you mean to print this
right,
one?
but I remember people being like, burn them all, broken. And it's like, burn them all is not broken.
It's fine, yeah.
Burn them all is a lightly good card to get out in Dramai. It is not ending the game.
Yeah.
You know, I guess like doing arcane damage can be pretty good.
Arcane damage is good.
I've died to it, but it's not anywhere near broken. And it's also not bad.
I kind of forgot people called Burn Them All broken. That is funny.
Lots of people did.
Yeah. People love their hot takes in a card game.
Because people just rush to say that. And to me, I think the problem is that like, you might argue, oh, it's all in good fun. Sure. Like, it's just like people just saying shit online, and that's fine. I know I'm not going to stop that. But I think as a player, I think it is just indicative of a kind of lack of understanding of how game design works. And that, like, if you're ever going to look at a card and it's actually going to be good, you're going to be like, that's good. I think that in Flesh and Blood, it's already going to be too good. Right? Like
if it's just obviously really strong or like obviously you want to play it over whatever else
like
you
if
could.
you look at Duskblade, you know that that's broken.
Yeah.
Like that one, and because people were like, seems good. You know, I don't think anyone said immediately it would be broken.
Yeah. I honestly don't know how
saying everyone did, but.
Right. Yeah, I don't. Maybe some people
real
didn't get
take?
It. Yeah, I don't actually know because we weren't around then. I honestly don't know how they, even without testing for Constructed, how they printed that and didn't even crossed their minds, like what will happen when someone builds a deck around adding counters to this every turn.
I
But
know.
they realized they made a mistake, and they admit it, so it's
They
fine.
made a mistake.
Yeah.
But that's so what I'm saying is, looking at the Emperor, only having red cards in your deck
Mhm.
is a big deck building restriction that we've never had
Yeah.
before. And then even you only have reds, but you still have to pay 3. Search your deck for Command and Conquer and attack with it. So has anyone ever decided if that means pay the cost or no?
That's what people think because it's bolded, so it seems like attack as a keyword is like means play it like as a layer without paying for it and then put it on the chain or something along those lines.
Right.
It'd be pretty, I mean, considering it would cost 5 if you had to actually pay for it as well, and this deck can only run reds, it would be
A little not worth
not
it.
very doable. You'd need like an energy potion, which you can't run because you can't run blues, so I don't know how you'd even like make it happen
Right.
if you had to pay the cost.
What does Amulet of Ignition do? Oh, it makes one thing cost 1 less.
Yeah, but isn't that a yellow?
Oh, is it?
I think
thought it was red.
I think it might be a yellow. I'm not sure.
Blood of Drakai might help.
That could do it, yeah.
Anyway, point is that nobody knows what this card does,
Yeah.
and we don't have enough. We don't have enough new armor, or we don't even have this guy's weapon.
I mean,
so
we know
to say that he's good or bad is ridiculous. Like, you can't know if he's going to be Starvo level broken or Cavdine level bad.
Yeah. I mean, we know he can run royal cards, draconic cards, warrior cards, and wizard cards, which is a lot of cards.
He has
There's some good ones in there.
probably the biggest card pool in the game.
Yeah.
So even if he just plays like Fi,
Mm-hmm. I wonder if Starvo technically has more because he has all 3 elements and guardian and elemental, or is
no, because that's like one set.
yeah. I think you're right. Probably it's maybe like close because there's not.
No,
Warrior
I'm sorry.
wizard.
Guardian is a multiple sets. That's not what I meant. I
Guardian's
just
a
meant
lot.
like elemental.
Guardian
was
plus the
one set.
elements. Yeah, it's probably still more for the Emperor. I don't know.
Well, we'll see. But I think that was I think what's interesting about this is that like nobody really knows what any of this stuff is going to do, but we can
Mhm.
talk about it and speculate. And then we saw Imperial War Horn,
Mm-hmm.
as we talked about. And that one seems to be more for PvE or a UPF.
Yeah, it seems like a pit fight / PvE card that also could be useful in regular constructed because it's like if you really want to get rid of someone's aura or item or a landmark or whatever, an ally, like
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely sluggish because you have to play it and it doesn't have go again, and then the action to do it doesn't have go again. So you're like dropping this at the end of a turn, and then the next turn, maybe at the end of your turn, you're doing it to destroy. So I think it's cool to have some more like answers for stuff as they're adding more.
I hate being in the library, man.
Yeah, the
Like,
library is.
if you're
library
fighting
is tough.
Prism and you get into the library, it's over for you.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have something that is like no.
I can't believe the library is discard 2 yellows. It gets such an ask to get rid of it. Corsham just goes away if you don't do certain things to keep it
I know.
around. You can just pass your turn and destroy it. Library, meanwhile, Prism is in there forever.
So then another thing I think people forgot we got is gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had copper and silver, and so gold is what you assumed. It costs 1 less to destroy and draw a card. Closer to like playable than copper. I mean, copper is 4 to draw 1 card, so it's only good if your hand is all blues. Silver like cycles your hand for a blue, so possible
Right.
function. Gold is like almost pretty good if that you can like be up 1 pitch and have drawn a card.
But we don't know. We're gonna, what is what is old man Guinness? What you need to do?
Yeah.
Like, please take this gold. Don't hurt me.
Please leave me alone.
So he might, maybe that might be good for him.
Yeah, I mean it is. We know already that we have the crown of what is it called? The new Emperor crown card.
Oh, did I not put that in here?
Oh no.
Oh, I might have forgotten that one.
Well, just imagine it. It's the one that
It looks like deer antlers or whatever.
yeah, it makes your hero royal, and when you equip it, you create a gold token. Which
yeah.
we assume that equipping something just means like putting it on your hero at the start of the game.
I think that's what it is because of Taylor. I think Taylor equips stuff.
Yeah, she
That
already
just
has
means
like the equip keyword.
You
That's
just
true.
put it on.
Yeah. So getting a free gold is pretty interesting because it's like, it's not amazing to just like activate gold for its effect during the game, but it could be helpful. It's like a net positive, and it turns cash into a free draw 2 cards, which is very strong in Flesh and Blood in any game.
Yeah.
It becomes Pot of Greed all of a sudden.
Pot of Greed. That's a Yu-Gi-Oh
It's
card,
a Yu-Gi-Oh
right?
card.
Okay.
And a bit of a meme because on the show, people constantly explain how Pot of Greed works, even though all it does is you play it and you draw 2 cards.
You mean the show Yu-Gi-Oh?
The show, the anime Yu-Gi-Oh! So it's like an internet meme to be like, but what does Pot of Greed
When
do?
they play Pot of Greed, is it like a pot?
It's like a little goofy pot, yeah.
With a
on
weird
the
face?
It's
Yeah.
like has a weird like
But he like
evil
comes
face.
alive or whatever?
I forget what animation he does with like the holograms. Man, it would be cool if you could play Flesh and Blood like Yu-Gi-Oh, where you're like in a fucking
like on a pulpit. And
I don't know
like
how
throwing
that's
cards.
ever possible. Like, leave it to Japan to dream up something like that. Like, kids will play a TCG by like being on a pulpit, and then there's like a huge field that animates a hologram of every card. And
Sure.
yeah, but it'd be cool to watch your heroes like duke it out.
And then I think what the first... Okay, no. Then we got Yoji, I think. Yoji is hard because he got... we saw his picture before we knew anything about him.
Yeah, people were trying to data mine a little bit. They were like, who is this guy? I think people thought maybe it was Yoji because the Emperor's Story mentioned Yoji.
My favorite thing is that when whenever something happens like this and there's like a little less information, people are always feeling like there's going to be some sort of change and that's going to mean there's an assassin.
Oh,
I love that theory, and it's like it's disappointing that they haven't done it a little bit because it's like in Uprising, people were like
Secret Chiana maybe or Secret Assassin.
Secret Chiana. What if
yeah.
there's a sort of smoke assassin? What if there's an ash assassin?
I forgot about the ash assassin could use smoke. You could use ash tokens.
Yeah,
for
that might have
different-
been my theory actually.
Yeah, it's a cool theory. I like it. Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. People had theories that like we'd reveal Yoji and then it would be sort of like we'd show him and then he'd be dead and then there'd be a different hero. Like he's not actually in the set even.
Yeah.
And it's like
he's a dead guy.
The assassin is in the set.
Yeah.
I mean, it still might happen. A lot of people have theorized that like, we have some confirmation or like hints that there's going to be new Azalea cards in.
Well, we got one.
We got the bow. Yeah. That's a pretty good Azalea bow. And she is an assassin, so maybe she'll get like a retrain. Because James White did say earlier this year when someone asked, like, are we going to see more Starvo, like, recreations of older heroes type things? And
right.
He said, sooner than you think.
Sooner than you think.
I don't know how soon he thinks I think it will be.
What does retrain mean?
Oh, I think that's what people call it. Just like a new version of the hero, like Bravo star of the show. So same.
What's that from?
I don't know. Internet, maybe? Probably from the internet.
So
rework.
Yoji says once per turn instant. The next time another target hero would be dealt damage this turn, instead that damage is dealt to Yoji and prevent one of that damage.
Mm-hmm.
So he is, and we got his. Let's scroll down.
Oh yeah.
Skip ahead. We got his shield here called. Well, a shield, but it's a guardian shield.
It's a Volcor guardian shield, yeah.
It's called Seasoned Savior. I like that it's seasoned.
It's all seasoned, yeah.
and
Seasoning my cast iron shield.
That says when you equip Seasoned Savior, put 2 -1 counters on it, battle worn, and it has 3. So it blocks for 1 unless you can take counters off it, and it also has remove of a -1 counter. We got Reinforced Steel.
Yeah, Reinforced Steel. This one is interesting because, like, not that I want to be the hot take person and be like, this card is bad or this card is broken or whatever, but from the cards we know exist so far, this card costs 1 card to play and then a card to pitch in order to net you 1 block later, and the card itself blocks for 3, and the card you're pitching probably blocks for 3. So what's the math that makes it make sense that you want to do this? And maybe it's like a PvE situation because Yoji is the most clearly PvE hero I think they've made.
He's supposed to be the tank of like protecting other people.
Yeah, because his hero ability only can defend other heroes. He can't do anything to help himself win the game. So maybe he just wants to run this just to be like playing this to make his shield better so he can like block for everyone else or something.
Yeah, I think so. Can he block for other people?
I don't know. That could be that PvE could work like that. Like you can, maybe there'll be equipment that like draws enemy aggro or something if there's aggro for different heroes.
I hope so. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Or I'm sure there's going to be other stuff in the set that makes it make sense to put +1 counters back on stuff because you gain some kind of benefit or something.
Right. But then this week, Dynasty Spoilers really started.
Out of nowhere.
Getting out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We're getting actual reveals from content creators, whatever you want to say, Flesh and Blood people on the internet.
Yeah, the glitterati of Flesh and Blood.
The
The
glitterati.
1%. Your Flakes, Flake had one, right?
Yeah, he got one.
Yeah.
Flake as Fluke.
The card guys with a Z.
The card guys. The professor is supposedly getting one.
Oh, yeah. It's not coming out till later, but he has
right.
one. Who else? Who's going to be mad that we forgot them?
Did Kel get one? It hasn't come out yet.
He has, some of the bigger name channels have one like scheduled for November or like October 31st or whatever.
X Flesh, X Blood or whatever.
X Flesh and Blood X.
Yeah. He got one. Card Guys got one. Tall Timmy got one.
Oh yeah, Mr. Tall Paul himself.
I think this is Tall Timmy himself, Tall Paul. He got Merciless Battle Ax, which is a warrior weapon. So we're basically diving into lore wise. We're diving into the royal armory.
Yeah.
And we're getting a bunch of majestic weapons with Marvel treatments. Marvel being the sort of thing introduced. They're like alt arts that are extra beautiful. That were introduced last set. So that's fun. I think it's a lot of fun. Merciless Battle Ax is a once per turn action 3-cost attack. Whenever it attacks, if its power is greater than twice its base power, it gains overpower, which is the new keyword.
Which is cool that they made a new keyword that's not that different from Dominate.
It's a little different.
Yeah, it's different, but it's like a similar space of like affecting how your opponent can block.
People have been saying like it's strictly worse Dominate, but I feel like that's a little underselling it. Like
it's like
not as
slightly worse.
It's not
Dominate.
as powerful, but it's a little. It's still pretty strong. Like
it's stronger than not having anything on the attack. And I'm sure there's gonna be stuff that will like be asking for attacks with Dominate with overpower to hit, or if you do something with overpower, you gain some benefit or whatever. In the same way as like Dominate stuff can be like Guardians have ways of like, interacting with Dominate. So I could imagine
you mean
that
like
it's
putting crush on stuff.
Yeah, like maybe it's like your cards with overpower gain. I guess that you can't gain crush. I don't know what would happen. Like there could be some cards that like pieces of armor that can like remove -1 counters if you hit with overpower or something.
And people have this is another thing is that people are like, well, how do you make it 7? And it's like, well, you don't know yet.
Well, also that's
like we don't know how easy that's going to be when the set comes out.
That's also the whole thing warriors do right now. Like as a base class is pump their weapon. That's like mostly what they have. So it's tricky. I mean, you got to play like 2 sharpened steel or something. Well, 2 sharpened steel could do it. Like a couple things that pump. It's awkward because you need like pitch a blue and then do 2 things that power it up. But you could do it.
Pummel cannot do it, right?
Pummel has to hit a club weapon.
Just club?
I think it's club or hammer.
Hammer. That was the other one. Yeah.
So
we don't have a hammer, right?
Hammer?
Oh no, sledge. Sledge is hammer. Sledge of Anvilheim.
Aren't all the Guardian hammers type hammer? Like Anothos and Wizard's
Oh yeah,
Wail and
What am I thinking of?
Yeah.
What am I thinking?
We'll edit that out. No one will know that you forgot about
We will not edit that out. That's
we
not
have
gonna
a
that's
rock
not gonna
now
happen.
too, which we'll get to.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
Then Flake revealed, Mr. Matt DeMarco revealed Hanaby Blaster.
Another gun. Finally, some guns in Flesh and Blood.
Yes, a big gun. 2-handed. Once per turn action, remove 2 steam counters from attack. And this one, I think, is this is the first one where I just straight agree. Like, it's good.
Oh, this one is already very strong.
Yeah. It's clearly a strong. I mean, just the way I play Dash now.
Yeah.
Because I run when I play Dash, I run Barrel Shot.
Right, which is like a similar vibe to this, where it's just like the more you boost, the better it gets.
But you still have to pay to load it.
Yeah, it costs 2, right?
Yeah. So it's
this one's free.
This one is straight up free, and then because if you did this, you would load Barrel Shot, and then you would you get +1 for every boost. I think it hits for 2.
That sounds right. Yeah, I don't remember because I haven't played Dash myself.
I have to look it up.
Yeah,
but
it's some way that it's like better than pistol if you're boosting constantly.
If you did this, you boost 3 and then remove the counter, then it's still just 5. And you had to pay for it. So it's way better.
Yeah.
Well, you only get to do this once every 2 turns.
Yeah, it's every other turn, but it's like it kind of just means it's an average of 2.5 damage every turn, which is like weapons that attack for 3 every turn. like Dawnblade attacks for 3 for 1 pitch every turn, but that's also like all your deck is doing is attacking with Dawnblade. So like just getting in 2.5 pitch for no additional cost.
2.5 pitch?
2.5 damage, excuse me. We'll edit that one out too. I never said that. Don't try to tell anyone that I called it pitch.
Yeah, don't put it in the newspaper that I called it power pitch.
And it has overpower too. So it's like it's in some ways even better than 2.5 damage every turn.
Oh yeah, it's actually the power of barrel shot is X, and it's X plus equal to 1 plus the number of times you've boosted this turn. So it would only be 4.
Okay.
If you did this 1 turn, you'd have to pay 2, boost 3 times, and then take the counter off, and it would be for 4.
Sure.
So this is 5, and it doesn't cost anything.
Kind of seems better. I'm not sure. We'll have to see.
It seems just better.
Yeah.
So I it's not doesn't feel broken. I'm not saying that.
Yeah. It's not exactly
just
power creep.
It's clearly nice.
It's good.
And it feels a little better to do, I think.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see. He also revealed Powder Keg, which is whenever a mech gun hits, you may destroy Powder Keg and a defending equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And like you were saying, there's more armor hate in this, which I don't like as a wizard player.
Yeah, armor. They started it in. I guess really they started it with exposed to the elements in Arya, which I forget how that works exactly, but it's an elemental card that is like earth and or ice fusion, and I think it's like one of them lets you put a -1 counter on something, and then another lets you destroy a piece of armor if its defense is 0 or something. So they have had cards that let you destroy armor, but Uprising added more. It had liquefy and
yeah.
And
I mean, I get it. Like armor is really powerful, but I just don't think if you can just destroy.
Oh, Tumultai too, right? It's Tumultai.
Oh yeah, that feels really bad when Tumultai does that.
Tumultai is crazy. Yeah,
That's
I mean it's
too strong.
very expensive because Tumultai is the one that costs 6 to play, and then it's like when you attack, you can. No, you put a -1 counter on armor and then destroy it if it's 0, right? Like there's still limitation, but like you said, if you're a wizard,
it feels insane.
If you're a wizard, your shit doesn't have any counter.
It's like, no, you can take my boots.
My boots.
I mean, they took my boots anyway.
Yeah, they took them away.
The boots are gone.
Yeah.
And I'm pissed
not for
about
CC,
it.
but CC is not a kind place for Kano right now. It doesn't seem like.
I don't care. I'm playing my CC Kano in
you should.
CC. Like
Yeah,
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play Kano in CC if I'm playing CC. But I live in New York City, right? Like I can't complain too much. If I wanted to play CC more, I could, but I'd have to go to a store that's a little farther away.
Yeah.
And on a day that I'm not free, so whatever. But I play Blitz a lot more, and I wish that I could play Kano and Blitz, and I can't.
It's very unfair what they did to our boy.
But I think Dash getting some cool new cards, and hopefully maybe another mech. We will get another mech hero.
Yeah, if it's anything like Crucible, which like the set has Crucible vibes so far because there's a lot of weapons and armor being spoiled so far. Crucible also added a lot of young heroes.
Right.
So maybe we'll get some new young heroes for Blitz, or maybe just some old heroes as well.
And then we got a new Runeblade head, which is called the Amethyst Tiara. I forget who spoiled this. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I don't know. It was someone on Twitter, I think.
Instant destroy Amethyst Tiara. Rune chance you control have spell void 1. And it has 1 blade break, which people were saying you could feasibly block with this and then destroy it to get the spell void. And I do not think that's how it works.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, well, also,
I'm a level 1 judge, by the way, so you have to respect my opinion.
I got 100% on my rules. Yeah, we know the rules decently well.
We know the rules pretty good. So
I just don't know when you'd want. I think it has to be on the combat chain still when the damage is calculated to actually like block for you, and so you don't get a window to like block with it and then break it.
Maybe if you were fighting a wizard. Yeah, I don't think you can because the damage is calculated at the end of in the closing of the chain.
Yeah, unless I don't quite know when it checks how much defense is on the thing or whatever, but like we know stuff like route exists where it's like they can block with something, and then in the reaction step you're like, okay,
no, you don't.
That goes back to your hand and you didn't block with it, and then it's like the game doesn't remember that you blocked with that card. It's
right,
like,
it doesn't matter.
It checks later. So yeah, I don't think
that's how it works. It's just a 1 blade break, and you don't get to do that. Mostly, I think is probably how it's going to be used.
It's a weird combo of like it could have just been 0. They're just like it can block a tiny bit, or it can do the specific like anti-wizard defense mechanism, or anti-Runeblade if you just need to like stop a lot of Runeblade.
I almost
Arcane.
wonder if it has one just so that the armor hate in this won't destroy it. Like you could maybe like instant block it before it gets destroyed or whatever.
That's an interesting idea. That like stuff that has 0 defense is more fragile, so they're making it not have that. Yeah, that could be. Can't have Runeblade suffering.
But this is basically a permanent Runeblood barrier, but for arcane damage.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone makes fun of me when I run Runeblood barrier, so I don't know if that's good. Like,
it's very situational. It's like you need to have it sitting there, have not blocked with it. You got some rune chance around, and then there's arcane damage that you care about so much you're willing to trade in your own damage to stop it. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's not.
If it's a Kano combo turn and you need Spell Void at all costs,
or if
fantastic.
they like give Viserai back his combo.
I don't think so. Considering they just banned Skeletor in Blitz as well. No Skeletor anywhere.
Right. So this one really remains to be seen how useful it'll be. Then Azalea got a new bow, Sand Scour Great Bow.
Shout out to Az getting his first spoiler.
Shout out to Az.
Lovely old job, as you would say.
Lovely old job is what this bow is.
Yeah.
And I think this bow is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's enough, but we don't know what an aim counter is.
Right.
The big...
Those are important. People are theorizing that it maybe lets you like get around armor, like you're aiming past their armor and they can only block from hand, which that'd be cool because Azalea also can dominate arrows and can pump them and has good on hit effects on them.
So that could be cool. It's 1 per turn action. Look at the top. It costs 1. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put an arrow from your hand or the top of your deck face up into your arsenal, so you can load face up and it has go again. So it's an opt slash.
It doesn't need it to be empty. I don't know if I noticed that wrinkle. I don't think many. I think only Death Dealer wants you to have an empty arsenal to load from the bow.
What do you mean? But you only have 1 arsenal slot.
Well, you could have 2 if you have New Horizon. I know Azalea doesn't run New Horizon usually because she likes the skull bone.
Wait a minute. But if it's not empty, you can't put a card in there.
Well, if you have a second zone.
Yeah, but then it would be an empty arsenal slot.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm just noticing that it doesn't say like it's not like reload where you can only do it if you have no cards in arsenal or something. I think Death Dealer
like no cards in arsenal.
Death Dealer you can't have any cards in your arsenal to activate it. So,
all right.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you could use no New Horizons and do this twice or whatever.
Yeah.
Or not twice, but
I think Skullbone is probably still better. I feel like Azalea just doesn't do as much with having a second slot, but I don't know.
Good, because I have 2. We already talked about Seasoned and that. Reinforced Still. And then the last couple are Sap was the one that Team Covenant got at they got the shield.
They got the cool.
And then they
art.
also got to spoil a wizard card that is literally just zap. That can still only target a hero. Weird.
Yeah, well, I don't want to keep printing more Aether Darts, I guess.
I'm not happy about that.
Yeah.
And
making Kano's worst matchup not any better.
It has a text called Surge. It says if this deals, which I'm assuming is this a sort of reprise type reminder text?
The fact that it's bolded sort of implies that like other stuff will reference Surge without explaining what it means, I think.
Right. So it says if it deals more than 3 damage to a hero, if they take it all, you may remove, or if you buff it and it does 3, you may remove an energy counter from a permanent they control.
Yeah.
So what is a permanent? Like an aura or a...
I don't remember if because that's the thing in Magic. A permanent in Magic just meant anything that was sitting on the board.
Like
so
a creature
a
or
land,
an item or an artifact.
So I assume I guess it counts armor because so far only armor can have energy counters in Flesh and Blood. So I guess
armor is a permanent?
I have to assume so because so far the 2 places that energy counters exist, as far as I know, are Tunic and Alluvian Constellas. Tunic, you're putting an energy counter on it. Once
really?
A turn. Yeah. It was funny because I realized that and I was like, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say put an energy counter on Tunic or remove 3 energy counters from Tunic. They just call them counters.
Right.
But yeah, so those have energy counters, and I assume that must mean that they're permanent. I assume it's similar. Flesh and Blood often
are resources called energy in this game?
I don't know. Not exactly. Like, there's energy counters.
Because I call them pitch
I call
or
it
resources.
People call it mana sometimes. Like people,
well, sure,
people
but
like
that's
Tarek
not...
who clearly played a lot of Magic.
Yeah, but that's not what I mean. I know it's not called mana. That's for sure.
Wow.
But it could be called energy.
Maybe it's energy. Yeah.
Interesting. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So being able to take counters off of stuff, it's like clearly we're getting more stuff with energy counters and to negate, I guess.
And then we have Blazon Yoroi. I don't know how to say that.
Blazon Yori is how I've been saying it in my head.
Yori?
Blazon Yori. I don't think that's correct, but
it's
that's
Yoroi.
Yoroi. That's hard to say.
So this is a ninja chest.
Mm-hmm.
Someone pointed out, I think Brad pointed out, that most of the time, with the exception of Husk, almost always the chest piece has something to do with energy.
I never noticed that before, but he's right. Yeah.
Taklo Foundry Heart. Tunic.
Mm-hmm.
Alluvian Cancellas.
Yeah.
Spellfire Cloak, literally all of them.
Tectonic makes seismic surge tokens.
Vest of the First Fist, like something. It gives you energy, or pitch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This one doesn't. It's just
it's for blocking.
It's just for blocking, which I think is good, because I think it's an interesting matchup tech, because with Fi you might be using Furnace.
Yeah.
Right? And you already have an energy machine.
Oh, yeah. Furnace is another one that makes energy. And
I'm going to start calling it energy. I don't know why I haven't been doing that before.
Yeah. 3 energy.
It's way better.
Yeah, it's cool. It makes it sound like a fighting game also.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the flavor of Flesh and Blood for sure.
So this one is sort of like if you're fighting Oldhim and you need block or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, but...
You can't use it against Oldhim, really. It's mainly for a mirror situation.
Or Jermai.
Yeah. Well, the thing... Yeah, it's it's interesting because if it's... So the way it works is if it's defending Chainlink 4 or higher, it has +4 defense, right? So if it'll block for 5, it's almost a Husk for that that situation.
For free.
But you are not obligated to keep the combat chain open even if you're going wide. You can feel free to get to Chainlink 3, close it, and then start a new combat chain on Chainlink 1.
Yes. So it's why?
Mm-hmm. But it does do
you
stuff
almost have to wonder if they're going to change that rule. You almost have to wonder, be no, the only way to close the chain is to play a non-attack action or activate an ability.
Mm-hmm. That's possible. Yeah, you're just kind of
because I feel like that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know it in a fighting game, you can just stop moving for a second and then your combo goes away.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they were trying to model.
I'm trying to think who would get mad about that other than this card. I think it might fuck up Levia because sometimes she wants to close the combat chain so the stuff goes to the graveyard because Levia cares about stuff being in the graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure. I've only played against Levia a handful of times, so I don't know how salty that change would make them.
Well, maybe Levia will get something awesome.
Hopefully.
Speaking of Brute, last thing on the list here, and almost to the end of our show, we have Rock, which someone pointed out on Twitter. Maybe I should look up who it is, but I'm not going to.
Mm-hmm.
Pointed out on Twitter that is a fun flavor win that we have a bunch of people discussing Rock as if they are dumb.
How to use Rock.
How to use Rock.
How to fight with Rock. I love how the Rock.
How
it
activate Rock.
A cute face, like a porg.
I think it's supposed to.
Yeah.
So this is just a big rock that you can hit people with as a brute.
Yeah, 3 for 7, so it's on rate as an attack. It's as good as Wounded Bull or Fiendel's Fighting.
Well, it's not as good as
Spirit.
Wounded Bull.
Well, for some reasons that we'll get into.
In most cases, well, no, because
Wounded Bull becomes 8.
It comes 8.
Yeah, it's as good as Regurgitating Slog or whatever that one's called.
It's as good as Fiendel's Fighting Spirit.
Yeah.
So I think Rock is fun. People are liking it and enjoying the flavor here. It's 3 for 7, but you can only activate Rock if you have no cards in your hand. Damage that would be dealt by Rock can't be prevented. Meaning you
no
can't
Oasis,
no Quell.
Yeah.
No Oasis. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I hadn't
you have
thought
to
of
straight up block 7.
You got to block 7. I hadn't thought of it yet, but I guess the flavor is supposed to be that if you have nothing else to do, is when you pick up a big rock and try to attack someone, which is funny that it's if you have anything else, you're well, surely this is a better action to take than my rock. But if you have nothing, you're just and you have some energy, I guess. You got
rock.
3 energy, and you're rock.
Yeah. Rock is great. I love the flavor of rock. People are confused because you cannot play it. You can't pitch a blue to play it, and even if that's the last card in your hand.
Nope, because you're activating it when you still have cards in your hand and then paying.
Yeah, you activate it.
Read the CR, folks. Learn the rules a little bit. No, it's okay.
Yeah, we're gonna bring Dark Souls Get Good energy to Fletch.
Yeah, just printing out the comprehensive rules with like stapled together and like tossing it at people if they ask.
Handing it
questions.
to people like Ron Swanson.
Mm-hmm.
No, but Rocket, that is a little bit complicated.
It's confusing because there's a thing going around that I think Red Zone Rogue said Joshua Scott, the rules guru, created of like all the currently existing ways to activate rock. So you can do stuff like have an energy potion and 3 counters on your tunic and break those. You can like pitch a blue to, you can have that, whatever that card, Amulet of Ignition, that makes something cost 1 less.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to currently do it.
Mm-hmm. It's like a little awkward, but doable.
Brute will probably get stuff to do more stuff with it.
Yeah. I mean, Brute has ways to discard random cards, so you can definitely get your hand down to basically nothing.
Right. All right. So that's the end of spoiler season, and it's almost time for us to go. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for listening, for watching. Sorry about the video snafu.
Very sorry.
This will not be something that happens in the future. I'll fix it, I'm sure. But, it's our first run doing a video podcast. So if you're here on YouTube, sorry about that. Mm-hmm. But, we'll do better.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching on YouTube. If you're listening on audio, thank you as well. Please hit subscribe. Mm-hmm. Please go to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. We don't have a Patreon or anything, but maybe we should make one. I don't know what that would be like. Yeah. We'll think about it. Tell us what you want to hear from us. Tell us what you want to see.
Leave some comments. You can talk to us on the comments. You can talk to us on Twitter.
Rate and review the show. It helps people find the show.
Mm-hmm. My Twitter @ is Blue Plunder Run.
Yeah, I'm just @ Banish Zone.
Mm-hmm. Very easy.
And that's the show. Mm-hmm. I'm Bryn.
I've been Chris, and I will continue to be Chris.
We will continue to be Bryn and Chris. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's been a good time. We're excited to see where this show goes. Mm-hmm.
We had too many fab takes. We needed to get them recorded somewhere.
We really needed to get them.
They're too important to really be wasted.
I honestly feel like we're running out of time, and I want to say more, but there's always next week. So until next week, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.